everybody. Hello. We're here with John Taylor. This is Dan Davis, Caleb Kenner with Franchise Forward. We're a consultant agency and we help our clients find businesses that are good investments for them. And we talked to John recently about HOMEstretch that he represents, and we want to get into that today. Before we do, I wanted to give John a chance to kind of tell us about himself, a little bit about his background, maybe how long he's been in franchising, things like that. And then we'll go ahead and get into HOMEstretch.
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for having me. Number one, we're on the Dan and Caleb Franchise Forward show here. A little bit about myself. I've been in franchising almost 2 years now, and it's funny. I bet the two gentlemen on this call with me didn't just go to school to be in franchising. I mean, it's funny how everyone just lands here. My background, growing up in an entrepreneurial family, was construction, real estate, interior design, which gravitated me in towards a sales career related to sales and design and things like that. And ultimately, I ended up working with franchisors and franchisees on the build out side of things, which led me into construction related, home service related franchise development, and couldn't be happier being in this industry. It's filled with amazing people.
Caleb and I really like this one. We've been showing it to a lot of our candidates, and I think it's really going to start taking off. I think you've been doing a great job with it. People like that it's in real estate. They like that it's saving people time. It's really a niche that I'm excited about, but I'll let you kind of get into, what you talk about with our clients. And, one of the questions I get is, because the real estate industry is a little bit suppressed right now, how does that affect this type of business? And I'll go ahead and let you kind of, tell us about HOMEstretch.
Yeah, I mean, Dan, you said it, niches, right? Niches are in the riches here. And what we do at HomeStretch is real estate adjacent. It is senior care adjacent to booming industries that everyone wants their hands in. But it's how do you get into it, right? A lot of these markets are saturated. The businesses are saturated. There's a lot of competition. What we do, there's very minimal competition on. It's essentially low hanging fruit. And what Derek and Nick, the founders of HomeStretch, have done is created an industry that doesn't exist. It's the home preparation industry. So I compare it to Uber and Lyft all the time, how they replace taxis and how Amazon changed package shipping. That's what HomeStretch is really doing here for the real estate agent and their consumer. And that's key, right? This is a business development strategy. Sure, it's a down and dirty business that does paint and carpet and flooring and cleanup and junk removal, et cetera. But our franchisees and the people using this don't come from construction, right? It is really dealing with people in your market, in your industry, professionals, giving them a resource to help them do their job better. And we talked a little bit about on our call last week about the real estate industry. There's a buyer's market, there's a seller's market. These industries just ebb and flow every single 5 years. What HomeStretch has done is over the last 5 years, prove through we can go through COVID, we can go through a buyer's market, we can go into a seller's market, and the business is still necessary. Unfortunately, people still pass away. They still get divorced. They still get relocated for work. And even in a time where we couldn't get into offices during COVID and network and couldn't find subs, et cetera, somehow we kept growing at a 50, 60% year for year average clip. So this is a fairly insulated business inside of the home sales industry that's kind of attached to the senior development of the progression of baby boomers and senior living and the transitions in life.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like to Dan's point, John, when we talked last week, we really started to introduce it quite a bit. And what we've noticed is, I try to bring in kind of my unbiased, hey, here's what we have. What did you think of the original, brands that we sent you? I can tell you every time that I put a HOMEstretch in, that's the first one people are like, this one caught my eye. And so I think it is something that people are starting to know more about, which I think is great. A question that I have is the ideal candidate. So it's a two-part question. So for HOMEstretch, who's your ideal candidate? And then the second part of that question is ownership options. Are you guys pretty flexible, the semi-passive owner-operator, those types of things? So if you could talk to that, John, that'd be great.
Sure. And Caleb, if you don't mind, I'll hit it in reverse, right? Let's talk about the ownership opportunities that we have. Number one, we always are going to prefer an owner operator, somebody who's putting their life into their business. They tend to grow and scale their business a little bit quicker. And this is a very scalable business. The second option, we call it semi-active. Many people hear the term semi-absentee thrown around a lot. As you guys know, there's not too many truly passive investments out there. So an owner operator comes in, they have very limited overhead as the business model is structured that way, and very low employment, right? Meaning an owner can come in and do both the role of the business development and begin to manage some of the projects. Even with no construction experience, we want our franchisees to understand the complete scope and cycle of our business. That way we could properly introduce either a project manager as the first hire to allow the owner to be focused on more high level business growth activities. Or if they're more of an ops oriented person, they can stay in the operation side of the business, managing that, and hire on somebody to do more of the business development and the consultations in the home and working more with the real estate agents. So there's a very flexible, ownership route here, but nothing is passive. So we fully discourage anyone who wants to come in and purchase a business and hire a manager and hope they're going to do as well as they would. Most individuals would bet on themselves.
Yeah. When we talked last, you mentioned that you kind of need somebody that's a go-getter that can get in front of real estate agents and just get out there and network. Because this sounds a lot. Part of this from our candidates that where it clicks for them is that nobody wants to be hiring a bunch of teams of, the subcontractor piece of this. They love the fact that you already have a lot of that built in with like a Sherman-Williams partnership. So maybe touch on that a little bit. And then, basically real estate agents, the performers that are out there are selling homes. Before HOMEstretch existed, they were doing all this on their own. They were calling painters, floor companies, 8 different things to remodel or get that home up to par so that it can sell. And HOMEstretch, essentially going to a real estate agent, this is how I explain, is you don't have to be a project manager anymore. You can just focus on selling homes. Hire us. We'll get these homes that are on your listing looking really good. You don't have to do anything. We have financing. We can roll the cost of our services up into the sale price of the home. Really, it's win-win-win. And so that's kind of how I box it as far as, you can start with essentially owner operator. Maybe you're doing the sales, have a project manager once you have enough things going on. So you can start with a pretty low employee count, but those are some of the things that I kind of talk to our clients about.
Yeah, and I'd add to that, like real estate agents, they don't have a good resource to get this stuff done, right? It's too much for a handyman to handle. They'll take 3 weeks to paint a house. We paint a house in 2 or 3 days, right? It's too little for a general contractor to come after that, price ticket of an average around $8,000. We'll do projects in the scope of $2,000 to $40,000, right? The other problem is that the resources that realtors have, they're not dependable to scale into, meaning like a painter is going to be tied up for 3 weeks. They can't help their next client. And the volume listing agents, they're the ones we're working with. They're listing homes, not the buying agents. So when you're looking at a subset or a market for us, there's around 200,000 homes in each individual market. There could be 6,000 to 8,000 realtors. We really focus in on the top 150 listing agents, and we become their resources. Now, they didn't become top 150 listing agents because they're scrubs, right? They have a Rolodex of individuals, but those Rolodexes of individuals are limited. And then they almost have to apologize to their client. They don't want to stand behind that work because they know what they're getting in the typical subcontractor. So if I'm your real estate agent, I'm going to give you a list of 5 painters, and now that's your problem. You're dealing with it, right? Or worse, I'm spending 50% of my bandwidth as a high performing real estate agent managing the project. So we slide in there as a catalyst for the real estate agent to build their career, their reputation, help their client sell the home quickly for more money, and ultimately relieve stress that comes with that process, which when you go through one of those big D's, death, divorce, downsizing, or anything adjacent to that, it comes with a lot of stress and it comes at you fast. So we're here to help.
Perfect.
Awesome. John, let's dive into some numbers. Item 7, let's talk about the initial investment kind of startup time, right? A lot of our clients ask like, hey, once I'm ready to go, if this is a business I want to move forward with, how fast can I get this business off the ground? So could you kind of talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I'd lead that off with the discovery process. I mean, part of a candidate's process is working with you to identify the right brand or a handful of brands that they're interested in. And then they'll work with a director like myself on exploring the brand intimately. And I typically take 4 to 6 weeks with a candidate to help them gather the information to make an educated decision, and vice versa. It's a double swinging door to make sure that the brand sees them as a good fit, right? So at that point, once we've established that we're going to become franchise partners here with a candidate, Training is conducted either 30 days after that point or 60 days, and that is up to the candidate depending on what they have going on in life. And then from there, you're out generating revenue. You're doing business development activities. And I can't get into earnings claims here, but you'll be able to go through my process and speak with franchisees about what they've done over the last 5 months or 8 months or 12 months, et cetera. As far as financials go from the brand and what your candidates will see in an item 19 from 2023 in the FDD is you'll see 3 corporate locations. We began franchising in January, and now we have 15 franchisees and 37 locations as of July 24th, 2024. So what you're going to see is our corporate location in 2023 doing $2.7 million with a profit margin, a net profit of north of 20%. And that's with very limited involvement from the owners at that point. The point of this business is to build a strong team around you and then buy back your time to where you can focus on expanding this business or going on to other business ventures.
Great. It's a pretty low investment for what the return is. And as far as, is there equipment involved, or is it work from home, no brick and mortar, like things like that?
So the method in theory really comes from Derek and Nick, lean and mean. So we want our franchisees to have very little overhead expenses on a monthly basis and a startup cost basis. So our franchisees will be able to start with a 10 by 10 storage unit. That's your brick and mortar 4 walls. You never have to do customer interaction at a HOMEstretch location. All business is conducted in the network of real estate agents and in the home of the client. And equipment is limited as well. I mean, we really need some basic project management tools where we're subbing out everything. And you mentioned subcontracting earlier. We look at our partners or subcontractors as true partners. What's really unique here, giving back to the community, is you're able to, as a franchisee, be able to help the painter build his business within yours, and then scale into a second painter and keep food on the table for his employees and his people. So it's a very minimal startup cost. Around $45,000 to $50,000 on top of a franchise fee, whether you do 1 territory, 2 territories, or our average, which is around 3 territories per franchisees covering 600,000 homes. And sometimes that could be an entire market.
Got it.
Awesome.
Well, I think, that covered it for me. Caleb, do you have any other questions for John?
John, could you talk about the different revenue streams for the HOMEstretch business?
Yeah, great question, Caleb. So the revenue streams have been identified over the years with trial and error from the founding locations, right? So they've tried everything under the sun that may improve the value and worked out the kinks. And we've narrowed it down to the 5 things that make the biggest impact on getting the home sold. And then caveat that with getting the home sold for more money, right? So revenue generating activities for the home seller, as well as necessary items needed to be done to get the home sold. So when I talk about this, I like to talk about 2 bookends. And when you sell a home or you sell a car, you're not going to sell a dirty car. So you need to get it cleared out and then clean before you take it up to the dealership. Same thing with a home. You're not going to sell a home with trash in it. So our first service is really a business in itself, and it's junk removal. It's home clear out. We partner with a local dumpster company, and then we have the manpower internally from our partners, i.e. painters and flooring individuals and other technicians. So we actually do the entire floor clean or home clean out ourselves, and we supply the labor. The franchisee would supply the labor. And the price point is really impactful here, because when you're looking to close out a home and get it cleared out and it's 2 dumpsters and 8 guys, you might be looking in the $12,000 to $20,000 range. Right, we can come in and effectively and do it for a few $1,000s, make a healthy margin on it, and now the home's emptied. So we get into more of the return on investment activities, which is painting and flooring the home. That's what increases the value. And then once we're done with those services, if they needed both of them or one of them, we go into cleaning the home and freshening up the lawn. So all of our services are paired to help the homeowner sell the house quickly for more money and reduce stress. And we get rid of some of the revenue streams that aren't profitable, such as staging the home or getting into roof repairs or inspection report, handyman list. We stay away from those non-profitable activities that aren't as impactful for our customers.
Got it. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate you taking time with us. This is it checks a lot of boxes for our candidates: real estate based, home improvement, subcontractor model, low investment. I like it on a lot of different levels, and so we'll keep showing it and hopefully get you sold out in the United States for Homestretch.
We're well on our way. These guys are taking it East Coast to West Coast by storm, and appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.